But there will also be some clearer skies around, and so although most towns and cities will hold up in double digits, where you get those clear breaks, temperatures could take a bit of a drop, particularly over some eastern parts of Scotland. Could see a touch of frost, maybe even some fog in some parts, around Aberdeenshire for example, but elsewhere quite a murky start to the day, quite grotty with some cloud which could be quite low. There'll be outbreaks of rain, not especially heavy, but perhaps some heavier bursts across some parts of Northern Ireland, and then across much of England and Wales. Yes, there will be some early brightness, some sunshine around for quite a few parts, particularly towards the east, but also some further showery rain. Now, the showery rain is not going to be quite as heavy as what we've seen through today, so less chance of seeing any hail, some lightning, some thunder, but nonetheless it will be a bit damp at times, and perhaps the heaviest showers will be across parts of Scotland where they could merge into some longer spells of rain. Otherwise, there are actually a greater chance of seeing the sun compared to today, and with that and slightly lighter winds, for many it is going to feel a little bit warmer. Now, as we go through into Wednesday, actually through the bulk of the day, Wednesday's looking largely fine for most places. A few showers towards the northwest, but lots of dry weather. However, later on we are likely to see some very wet weather pushing into the south, and that takes us into a very unsettled day for many places, particularly across England and Wales on Thursday, with very strong winds and heavy rain.
Today's outlook: cool, calm and completely horizontal. Boxed Aircon sponsors the weather on GB News.
Welcome along. So, an interview that I did with a Pakistani rape gang survivor has actually made the front of the Daily Telegraph. It's big. It looks as though the Labour Party are trying to do their best to cover up this rape gang inquiry, which is really, really shocking stuff. I'm going to give you more detail on that. Some of the other big stories, of course, involve Prince Andrew. He has not paid rent since 2003 on Royal Lodge. So what's the latest for old Andy? Stay tuned.
There's 2 weeks remaining in our latest, greatest giveaway. You could be in the driving seat of this Benamar Primera motorhome. This luxurious home from home comes with all the mod cons. Plus, you can use it with your current driving licence. We'll also boost your bank account with a whopping £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend on anything you like. It only takes one entry to become a winner. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world. Am I allowed to talk then? No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Welcome along to Patrick Christys Tonight, late edition, breaking right now.
Calling for inquiries because they want to jump on a bandwagon of the far right.
Well, the Labour government has now been accused of sabotaging the grooming gang national inquiry as 2 victims have quit the liaison panel and claim that they were silenced. And on that note...
So are you saying we haven't got the same sort of gangs that are in Rotherham, Bradford and lots of other places in the country?
Just for your misunderstanding, what does she mean by that?
You know full well what I mean by that.
Well, Sadiq Khan has now found himself embroiled in a grooming gang's row after the Daily Express alleged that he read reports detailing at least 6 potential London grooming gang cases after dismissing their existence. Meanwhile...
No, I do think that they should be, raked over the coals for basically acting as a group of errand boys for trans activists.
Graham Linehan has been cleared of all wrongdoing, and the Met Police have now said that they might stop investigating non-crime hate incidents, which is a victory for free speech. Meanwhile...
There's a slight problem with the sweating, because I have a peculiar medical condition, which is that I don't sweat.
Not sure that's still true, but anyway, The Guardian is reporting that Prince Andrew tried to hire trolls to target Virginia Giuffre. Apparently this could result in some kind of police investigation. There's another couple of headlines about Prince Andrew on the front as well, which is that he's not paid for Royal Lodge, apparently, since, well, for the last 20 years, which it kind of does poo-poo the Daily Mail's front page, which is, how does Prince Andrew afford to live at Royal Lodge? Well, the answer is he's not paying for it, but there you go. Anne. Tomorrow, Parliament will vote on cutting the prison time of thousands of criminals. I'm actually going to be joined by Shadow Justice Minister Kieran Mullen, who has a plan to stop it. And finally...
You have no authority here, Jackie Weaver.
She's just kicked him out. Read the standing orders. Read them and understand them.
Well, Reform UK has suspended several Kent councillors after a tumultuous Zoom call, which wasn't that, but it was, of course, that was the Jackie Weaver moment. Anyway, stay tuned. Joining me this evening, we've got the former editor of The Sun, Kelvin Mackenzie, trade unionist Andy Twelves and GB News contributor and comedian Archie Manners, who, of course, knows the royal family personally, will be giving us all of the inside stories. Yeah, indeed. But first, though, let's get those headlines with Katie Bow.
Patrick, thank you and good evening. The headlines at 3 minutes past 11. And a breaking update tonight, Maccabi Tel Aviv fans will not be able to buy tickets for their fixture at Villa Park next month. In a statement released a short time ago, the club said that while they acknowledge the efforts of the UK government and police to ensure both sets of fans can attend the match safely, the well-being and safety of our fans is paramount, and from hard lessons learned, we've taken the decision to decline any allocation offered. Earlier today, a Number 10 spokesman said that the Prime Minister has promised to do everything in his power to get fans to the game, while Maccabi Tel Aviv added that they hope that circumstances will change and look forward to being able to play in Birmingham in a sporting environment in the near future. Elsewhere, a palace source has told GB News that allegations against Prince Andrew should be examined in an appropriate way. Tonight, both The Times and the Daily Mail are reporting on Prince Andrew's use of Royal Lodge. There are also reports that Prince Andrew was deemed a potential national security risk because of his close links to alleged Chinese spies. The Metropolitan Police is actively looking into the allegations that he asked his taxpayer-funded bodyguard to dig the dirt on his sex accuser Virginia Giuffre. Today, Downing Street would not be drawn on whether Parliament should pass legislation to strip Prince Andrew of his titles. The Prime Minister's official spokesman said that ministers support the judgment of the King regarding his titles. Andrew denies all allegations. The Metropolitan Police has said that it will no longer investigate non-crime hate incidents. The move comes after it was announced today that comedian Graham Linehan would face no further action over 3 gender-critical tweets. The Met said that the decision to no longer investigate such incidents will provide clearer direction for officers. In a statement, the force said that Commissioner Sir Mark Rowley does not believe officers should be policing toxic culture wars debates, with current laws and rules on inciting violence online leaving them in what he calls an impossible position. Non-crime hate incidents are incidents that do not count as crimes, but are perceived to be motivated by hatred towards certain characteristics, such as race or gender. University tuition fees in England will increase every year in line with inflation from 2026 onwards, the Education Secretary has announced. Bridget Phillipson confirmed that fees will increase for the next 2 years and said that the government will then legislate to make the increase happen automatically every year after that. Maintenance loans will also increase in line with forecast inflation each academic year. The Education Secretary said that she will not allow institutions who don't take quality seriously to make their students pay more. And the UK is ready to spend, quote, well over £100 million on a potential British deployment to Ukraine if Donald Trump secures a peace deal with Russia, the Defence Secretary has said. That cost would cover the initial deployment of troops and aircraft and is separate to the cost of £4.5 billion in military aid allocated to Ukraine, it's understood. During a speech in London, John Healey said that the UK has been planning in detail, along with its coalition of the willing partners, over the last 6 months. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky will travel to London to attend a meeting on Friday of that group of leaders. Those are your latest GB News headlines, so let's go back to Patrick.
You can now watch GB News live across the United States of America and the world on Truth Plus. Scan the QR code to find out more or visit gbnews.com/truth.
Welcome along to Late Edition. Let's get you Tuesday's newspaper front pages, the Daily Mail. Just how can Andrew afford Royal Lodge? Well, if you stay tuned, you will find out, because there's another newspaper front page that appears to have cracked that code. The Guardian, Prince tried to hire trolls to target Virginia Giuffre. That's according to the book. Apparently there is... Well, actually, can I just say there is another breaking news, Lara and Andrew, which is Prince Andrew has been deemed a threat to UK security as well. So lots of Andy stuff floating around. That's on the front of the Telegraph. If you look at the sidebar of the Telegraph, that's it, that Prince Andrew was deemed a potential national security risk because of his close links to alleged Chinese spies. But their main story, and that's the one we're going to focus on in a second, is that the grooming gang inquiry, the Pakistani rape gang inquiry, is being, quote, sabotaged by Labour. And that relates to an interview that I did with a grooming gang survivor earlier on in my earlier show. I'm going to give you the details on that. The Independent, Powell's attack on Starmer. We must turn Labour around. Lucy Powell, the frontrunner to be the new deputy leader of the Labour Party, has basically come after the Labour leader. I'm not surprised because he did sack her, and saying that we need to turn the party around. I think last time I checked, they were now below the Tories in the polls, which really is saying something. The Metro. Something went wrong. Yes, this has been the global kind of internet outage for a variety of different things, including, as my wife found out earlier, Peloton. The Times. Andrew has not paid rent since 2003. There you go. Do you remember when I said if you keep watching, you'll find out how Andrew can afford to have lived at Royal Lodge? That was on the Daily Mail. Well, the Times have cracked it. He's just not paying. He's just not paying to live there. The iPaper, revolutionary bionic chips helps blind patients to regain sight. It's interesting that, actually. We could maybe give that to Sadiq Khan, because he claims not to have ever seen anything to do with grooming gangs. So maybe he can have that. The Sun, Katie X charged with raping a 13-year-old girl. This is very much an active case, and we are not going to go any further when it comes to Katie Price's ex. Let's go to the Daily Express. For the safety and dignity of every woman and girl, these are the Darlington nurses who have been fighting very, very hard to have women's-only spaces, not just their hospital, but every hospital, after they were made to change with a man who had full tackle and a girlfriend, but called himself something like Sally. And they said, no, that's wrong, we shouldn't have to suffer like this. And they're still fighting. Let's get straight into it with my wonderful panel this evening. I'll start with you, Cal. We'll start with the front of the Daily Telegraph. This grooming gang inquiry sabotaged by Labour. If I could just give you a very quick summary for people of where we are.
Yeah.
So today, 2 rape gang survivors who were on this panel quit, and they quit for a variety of reasons. One of them was that they want to broaden the scope of this inquiry so it removes the focus from Pakistani rape gangs, which, as far as I was concerned, I thought was the point.
Was the reason, yeah.
They also were told that the 2 potential chairs of this inquiry are a police officer or someone who used to work in social care. 2 areas that are supposed to be being investigated by this. And the other aspect was they were supposed to have the right to question these potential chairs. It turned out they were given a list of pre-approved questions and basically told what they can and can't say. So they've gone, and it looks like Labour is now trying to sabotage this inquiry.
Well, they didn't want the inquiry. He was forced to have the inquiry. And actually, I'm surprised that he hasn't insisted, this is Starmer, that you have a member of the Muslim religion in order to be the chairman of it, just to round off the entire ridiculousness of the Labour approach to it. They will continue to sabotage this. They are very clever, by the way. Civil servants, when acting on behalf of powerful politicians, there will be all kinds of hurdles in the way, and they will do almost anything to try and delay the actual report on these grooming gangs ever being published this side of 2029. It's a total racket. Starmer doesn't want it. Labour doesn't need it, because all that will happen is that they will fall out with more and more members of followers of Islam, and they simply would prefer it if it just went away. And actually, in some ways, I really wish that actually those ladies hadn't quit. I wish they stayed in there and fought it. Fought it.
They do say in their letters, but one of them particularly at the end, that they would like to come back.
Yes,
so it does seem like, and the letters are very brilliant. I mean, they're brilliantly written. And obviously, you had an interview with one of them. And I think maybe as a joke, we should make Prince Andrew the chair of it. Let's put them all together in the same room.
Let's put them all together in the same room. I mean,
now that could get you a Pulitzer Prize.
That would be good, wouldn't it? If I managed to pull that off, what kind of award would I get?
Well, I'm not sure, really. But
the Duke of York is going spare. It's going spare, isn't it?
That's true. So they say that officials apparently are wanting to downplay the ethnicity and religious background of the perpetrator. We've been here before. The whole point of this inquiry was because finally the British public decided, and the press actually, after a very long period of silence, decided that we'd had enough of the silence when it came to the Pakistani Muslim rape gang issue. So to try to downplay that is ridiculous here.
I know, it was the Daily Mail what did it, eventually. I mean, the press for a very long time would just call them sex gangs or rape gangs, and then eventually the Daily Mail did a very powerful front page with a lot of the perpetrators and kind of made that connection. I don't see what the benefit of downplaying it is. I don't know why they're doing that. It seems to me that all it'll do is make the problem worse, because people like you're a dog with a bone on this story, as is Charlie Peters, as lots of other journalists are, thankfully. It's not going away, lads. Like, if you want this to stop, this isn't the way to do it.
No,
we're not.
Get over with.
People like you are not going to let this just go away, and I don't understand why they can't get that into their heads, because it just ignoring it doesn't stop it being real.
Well, we've got a clip actually with a lady that I interviewed earlier on, Fiona Goddard, who is a survivor who quit today, and she's on the front of the Telegraph here. She's quoted in the Telegraph article. Let's play that clip.
So they asked us to sign a confidentiality agreement which centres around survivors' anonymity and making sure that their opinions were protected. So we all agreed with that, because survivors' anonymity is really important, and we signed it, but then it slowly developed into them telling us not to disclose any impressions we got, any material we were given, or anything, like basically anything by the end of it. We wasn't allowed to talk about anything to anyone.
So they were made to sign a confidentiality agreement on anything that would have been said in this inquiry. I mean, it's ridiculous, isn't it? It's not an inquiry, it's not a public inquiry, then.
It's wrong. It's wrong. I think everyone would say it's wrong. I think
as I said on Patrick Christys Tonight, earlier edition,
Thank you.
now on later edition, I think that it should be an independent barrister that should chair it, as all inquiries, because they probably know a bit more than a police officer or a social worker, to be honest. I think, on Kelvin's comment, I probably wouldn't care if that independent barrister was a Muslim. To be honest, the Home Secretary is a Muslim woman. I don't have any issue with her presiding or implementing the recommendations of the inquiry.
Do you not have a problem with how she managed to pass the parcel on the Aston Villa case then? The fact that she knew a week before, but didn't do anything about it, and eventually left it to the club to announce.
I think there are genuinely bigger issues for the Home Secretary to deal with than whether or not a hooligan football club plays at Aston Villa.
Have you seen what the reaction has been to it?
I think the small boats crisis is probably more important. I think the lack of funding in our terrorism, I think the lack of funding in our policing is more important.
And Maccabi, and the fact that the Muslims of Birmingham didn't want a Jewish team to turn up is a massive, massive free speech issue, and we're in a free speech auditorium.
Yeah, can I also just knocking this on a little bit? So the Daily Express did a big piece yesterday on yesterday's front pages about how Sadiq Khan, they say, is part of a quotes cover-up as a result of this. So I interviewed one of the columnists, the investigator at the Daily Express, and he said that they'd been to the Metropolitan Police about the rape gang issue, and said to them, in London, you know, how many cases, what evidence have you got about rape gangs? And Mark Rowley came and said, well, I can't talk about what I haven't seen, he said. Anyway, then today, apparently, at the London Assembly, Mark Rowley pops up and says, actually, we've got a very significant number of cases. So it's just cover-up after cover-up after cover-up, isn't it?
Yes, and I don't understand why, because actually I'm sure that the Muslim population of this country do not want any more rape gangs than the rest of us do, right? So why don't we just deal with it publicly, and then make decisions based on what we hear? I cannot understand why it's in Labour's interest to get the wrong side of this argument and end up, actually, Reform don't need any more help. Actually, every time something like this comes up, I'm sure there's a surge towards...
We do have a problem, though. The front pages today are just rape and sex everywhere you look. It's like, what is wrong with this country? It's like three different stories. Yeah. There's a royal, there's a celebrity, and then there's the gangs. It's like, what are we doing, everyone?
Certainly, in case of the royal and the celebrity, I imagine they deny all the allegations, by the way. But yes, we've got a clip for you that we're going to play. I believe this is back from 2020. Go on, just listen to this.
Are you looking in London for grooming gangs in London in order to prosecute people? Because if it's going on in cities like Oxford and Bristol and Peterborough and Aylesbury, smaller places, it's surely going on in London as well on a large scale.
Can I just be clear, Chair? Is the inference that because of my faith or my ethnic origin, I'm not seeking to follow these crimes?
No. I'm asking you because you're the Police and Crime Commissioner.
Yeah, and now it turns out, in fact, some people knew all along, Archie, if we bring up the front of the Daily Telegraph again, actually, that basically Sadiq Khan provided official statements about several different cases of grooming gangs in London going back until about 2016. So why has he not been more open about this?
Well, the allegation today that he's saying to Susan Hall, I don't know what you're talking about, is demonstrably untrue. We've got footage of him in 2020 accepting that he knows what he's talking about and asking whether it's about his faith that he's being asked. So I don't know why he doesn't want to look into this. I have no answer to that. You'd have to ask him. He won't give you a straight answer. But it seems to me that the entirety of the Labour Party are willfully putting their head in the sand over it. And it's extraordinary and it's dangerous and I was about to swear there, but it's effing up the lives of young girls up and down this country. And until we get a grip, this is a massive, massive stain on our national identity.
Yeah, so as yet, despite the fact that they, repeatedly say that this is, a priority for people, just to recap, there's no timetable that's been set for the inquiry, there's no chairman that's been appointed, and indeed the two selected come from industries or aspects of society that need to be investigated, so they've been marking their own homework. And victims say they're losing faith in the process. Two women, Fiona Goddard, you heard from one earlier, and Elliot Reynolds, who were groomed by gangs as teenagers, announced today that they were resigning as advisors on the liaison panel over concerns that the government was not listening to victims.
In fairness, on the timescale thing, I think it is more important that we do get it right. I would rather, and I think most...
That's a lame excuse governments always use when they're not doing something properly.
We've seen it
of all colours.
when they've rushed through inquiries, when they've rushed through, investigations, often they do get it wrong.
How much time does it need to set up an inquiry? Or how much time do you need to have a timetable?
I mean, how long did it take for the Horizon inquiry to be finalised? That took decades for those.
And it was too long. People died in prison before being exonerated.
If I'm being really cynical about this, I think that they are hoping that by the time we end up getting the results of this, that some of the people involved are dead. Right, as it tends to be the way in a lot of these. They did it with the infected blood scandal. It was
same with Horizon.
It was a real benefit to some because it meant they had to minimise the amount of compensation. I think they are desperately scratching around because there is a test case of a woman who successfully sued one of her attackers for about £500,000. Now, if you magnify that out across the entire country for every single person who's ever been affected by this, that is a huge amount of money, and I don't think they want to pay it. I think they're going to get a reckoning here.
But you don't need much time for a timetable. The victims don't even know when it's going to happen.
The key difference on some of these scandals that we've spoken about before and this is that when some of these victims and survivors decide to quit like they did today, they'll come on my show or they'll give an interview to the Telegraph or they'll speak to Charlie Peters immediately and they'll just reveal everything. The likes of Sadiq Khan and all that, you can't hide behind this anymore. But the Prime Minister's spokesman, by the way, has said the government's priority is to get it right. There you go. And that previous inquiries took a long time to set up. We're not going to offer a timeline on it here, so that the government was working flat out to ensure victims and survivors had faith in the inquiry structure. Also, I've already read out extensive rights replies.
Pathetic.
2 or 3 times from Sadiq Khan previously already tonight. I will summarise that by saying he categorically denies a cover-up and he does say that he's doing quite a lot to address whatever issues there may be. Coming up in just a moment.
That's a timeline.
It's true, it's that easy to give a timeline.
It's that easy. You said, coming up in a moment. It's super easy, lads. Just tell us when you're going to do it.
I might not stick to it. I might not give it. But I'm going to be joined by the Shadow Justice Minister because apparently there are still more plans to release criminals early. And we've also got all of the latest Prince Andrew developments, including a package for you. Virginia Giuffre's book is out tomorrow. Our royal reporter, Cameron Walker, has had advanced sight of it and he's going to tell you exclusively what's in it in a second. Stay tuned.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters. Real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact is Trump made a good start. No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
A day for us today, Penny, with losing our friend, Mr. John Stapleton, totally unexpectedly. I mean, of course, we knew he was ill.
Yes,
but
we didn't know he was ill.
We didn't know he was about to die.
Well, no. When he came in, we came in to the studio, and the three of us kind of were reunited.
Just a month ago.
Just a month ago, exactly. And yesterday, the lovely thing was that I had so many texts from people who you'd recognise as well from GMTV days, other people as well. Everybody saying what a gent he was and how kind and, from my point of view, the reason he stayed a friend, obviously, you have these, you call them screen husbands, screen wives, but the reason he stayed a friend was because he was genuinely funny. He made me laugh a lot, all the time. And, in fact, I just recently did a little podcast with him. We were talking about things that he hated and everything, and he was talking about he hated people driving around with cars with their windows open and really loud music.
Yeah.
And he was just going, he said, I just shout at them, can you turn it up a bit? There's somebody in Australia who can't quite hear the words. So you never expect it, you never want it. The people you love, you want to live forever. That's it.
That's very well said, yeah. I obviously was very friendly. He was when we say a gentleman, he was gentle. He was a gentle soul, and then he became very nasty. It was very difficult to like and get on with. It was just when Manchester United started to decline in terms of superiority, and he became so he became so arrogant.
No,
did he really?
He was unbearable.
He so didn't.
GB News, the People's Channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Welcome back to Patrick Christys tonight's late edition. Shortly, I've got a package for you because Cameron Walker, our royal correspondent, has had advanced sight of Virginia Giuffre's book, and he's going to summarise it for you. There are some really explosive allegations that are all over the front pages tomorrow about Prince Andrew. We'll get to that. But anyway, before that, MPs will vote on Labour's shocking sentencing plan, one that could cut jail time for more than 6,500 of the most serious criminals. These include rapists, paedophiles, child groomers. 83% of child sex offenders could serve less time behind bars. However, the Tories are fighting back, pushing amendments to keep these offenders locked up for longer and protect victims and boost police numbers with 10,000 new officers. I'm joined now by Shadow Justice Minister Dr. Kieran Mullen. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Right, do you want to go on, summarise what's going on here for you?
Sure. So, essentially, Labour MPs tomorrow are going to be whipped by the government to vote for a measure that I think is unprecedented in all the time I've been covering justice policy, which is for quite a few years, which is to allow thousands of serious offenders, as you said, people responsible for rape, attempted murder, a whole range of child sex offenders. Actually, 90% of the people who go to prison for child grooming are going to get a reduction in their sentence as a result of these changes to the bill. It's unprecedented, and we're just doing everything we can to stop it.
I mean, it actually puts a couple of the other front pages into sharp focus, doesn't it? Which is that if they are trying to stunt a rape gang inquiry at the same time as potentially introducing shorter sentences for people who are actually convicted of that is quite monstrous. So what are you guys hoping to do to try to prevent this from happening then, and what would you do differently?
We oppose their entire programme of early release because actually this applies across all sorts of offences. But just to really give Labour MPs a genuine opportunity to stop this, we put down an amendment to say of these new plans to let people out earlier, at the very least we should be excluding these sorts of offenders, these serious sexual offences, serious violent offences, and we're hoping that we can persuade them to vote for them. If any of your listeners have got a Labour MP or TV viewers, email them tomorrow and say do not vote for this plan. It's absolutely unacceptable, I think, to victims and the vast majority of the public.
Well, we already saw, as was then Shabana Mahmood's early release scheme, didn't we? And that was not exactly a roaring success.
Yeah, there were people that were supposed to be tagged that weren't tagged. There were people who've committed new offences. But actually, I'm afraid this is even worse because at least on that scheme, they did exclude, for example, all sexual offenders and some other more serious violent offenders. And that was a short-term plan for what is acceptably a challenge with our prison system at the minute. These are permanent plans over many years that will allow thousands and thousands of these serious offenders out over a long, long period of time.
All right, well, we'll just open it up a little bit. Kelvin, is there anything you'd like to say on this, the state of British justice?
Well, no, I find it difficult because I'm like one of those like one of those football scarves. I'm a half and half, so I'm a Tory and I'm Reform at the same time. And I can remember...
You're trans-political.
14 years of lack of success in the kind of prison way that Cameron, particularly, by the way, a particularly shocking example of conservatism in my view. And so what worries me about this is that I noticed that the Tories are now talking tough on these issues. They never talked tough when they actually could do something about it. You've become a lot tougher since you have
I can just talk about me personally, having been an MP since 2019. Some of the things that I've been proudest to vote on as an MP are directly related to this. So, for example, we introduced whole life orders, so people who never ever get out of prison for child murders. We did that when we were last in Parliament, when I was in Parliament last time, and Labour, when they first came in, when they were last in rather, they introduced a halfway release in the first place. That exists because of the last Labour government. In the time we've been in, we introduced the 2/3 release for the most serious offenders. So we were at least trying to make a journey back towards what I think most people would want, which is that people should spend the entirety of their time in prison sentence in prison, and that's a challenging thing to do. But at the very least, we shouldn't be going further in the other direction. It's totally unacceptable.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you obviously are quite worked up about prison places, don't you?
I mean, I think, you know, when we talked about the early release scheme last year, just after the riots, and again, I think this wouldn't be an issue if you'd actually built prisons. I mean, you know, how many prisons did you build?
Well,
the last in government.
Well, the prison that Labour have claimed, you know, great kudos for opening, was a prison that we started, that we got built and we put the money towards. So we did build prison places. But
how many prisons were built in the last 14 years versus the amount of prisons that were decommissioned?
Sure, the net figure is not where I would have wanted it to be.
Where is it?
That's a great politician answer. It's not where you'd like it to be.
Just for clarity, where is it?
Fine, I'll answer that. The first thing I want to point out is that this is exactly what Labour are hoping people will think about this issue. This is not because of short-term prison capacity issues. Emergency release schemes, as you've talked about, are for that. This is nothing to do with short-term prison capacity problems. This is to do with the long-term view of how we look after our prisons. It was in the low hundreds, the net figure. We built thousands overall, but it is true that some had to be decommissioned. I deeply regret that we didn't build more prisons when we were able to. But let's not be distracted, because that's what Labour want. They want us to think that, well, this is a short-term response. It's not. It's a permanent, long-term change to how we deal with serious offenders in this country, and I don't think what we should be doing is giving them less time in prison.
Why are they doing it? Are they doing it because there aren't the prison places, or are they doing it actually because they don't really give a damn and they don't care whether sexual predators are wandering the streets of this country?
I think it's two things. It's true that if we want to keep these people locked up in the long term, we will have to put more resources into prison building. Let's remember, we have less people in prison per thousand of the population than Australia, than New Zealand. You know, it's not like we can't actually increase the prison population to keep the most serious offenders locked up. I would support us doing that. And in my experience of dealing with the Ministry of Justice as a body, I don't ever really feel they've seen punishment as the important thing that I think many people think it is. Yes, we want to rehabilitate people that we can rehabilitate. Of course we do. But actually, when it comes to serious offences, people have to be punished, and that's what victims want to see, and I just don't think they're behind that.
All right. Well, look, thank you very much. And obviously, we'll be reporting on it all tomorrow as well, I imagine. So thank you for coming to the studio,
Thanks for having me.
This late at night. I do appreciate it. Coming up in just a moment's time.
He knows what happened. I know what happened. And there's only one of us telling the truth.
Allegations from beyond the grave. GB News has obtained a copy of Prince Andrew's sex accuser's new memoir ahead of publication.
Well, our royal reporter Cameron Walker has got a big Prince Andrew report premiering this new book by Virginia Giuffre that's coming out. I think he's had advanced sight of it, so it means that you now get advanced sight of it as well. Might save you buying it, I suppose. Stay tuned.
Hello again, good evening. I'm here with your GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. Now, as we go through the rest of today and into tomorrow, there will be some further showers, some further rain at times, but also a bit of dry weather for some. The big talking point, though, currently is the low pressure that's across us. It's this that's been the driving force for the heavy, thundery showers some of us have had today, and also those strong, gusty winds in places too. But a lot of that is easing as we go through this evening and overnight. Not turning completely dry, though. A few showery bursts of rain here and there, and some more persistent rain pushing in from western parts of Scotland. But there will also be some clearer skies around, and so although most towns and cities will hold up in double digits, where you get those clear breaks, temperatures could take a bit of a drop, particularly over some eastern parts of Scotland. Could see a touch of frost, maybe even some fog in some parts, around Aberdeenshire, for example. But elsewhere, quite a murky start to the day, quite grotty with some cloud, which could be quite low. There'll be outbreaks of rain, not especially heavy, but perhaps some heavier bursts across some parts of Northern Ireland, and then across much of England and Wales Wales, yes, there will be some early brightness, some sunshine around for quite a few parts, particularly towards the east, but also some further showery rain. Now, the showery rain is not going to be quite as heavy as what we've seen through today, so less chance of seeing any hail, some lightning, some thunder, but nonetheless it will be a bit damp at times, and perhaps the heaviest showers will be across parts of Scotland where they could merge into some longer spells of rain. Otherwise, there are actually a greater chance of seeing the sun compared to today, and with that and slightly lighter winds, for many it is going to feel a little bit warmer. Now, as we go through into Wednesday, actually through the bulk of the day, Wednesday's looking largely fine for most places. A few showers towards the northwest, but lots of dry weather. However, later on we are likely to see some very wet weather pushing into the south, and that takes us into a very unsettled day for many places, particularly across England and Wales on Thursday, with very strong winds and heavy rain.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Welcome back to Patrick Christys Tonight, latest edition. You might notice on the front, or indeed top of the front of the Times newspaper, it says this: Met to stop investigating non-crime hate after Graham Linehan case. You all know who Graham Linehan is. It's this guy.
No, I do think that they should be, raked over the coals for basically acting as a group of errand boys for trans activists.
So he was arrested by no less than 5 armed police at Heathrow Airport for daring to make a joke about trans people on social media. He's an Irish citizen, so he's not even really British, and we put him in custody. No, he's not. No, he's not. But there's a relevance there, right? Isn't there? Because it's not. We arrested.
He's a foreign national.
A foreign national at Heathrow for a joke a foreign national made on social media.
And he made the joke while he was in Arizona as well. So I mean, it really had almost nothing to do with us whatsoever.
Exactly that, right? Anyway, so now he's been cleared of everything, rightly so, and also the police are basically saying they're not going to try to do anyone like that again. But we're going over stateside now to Ben Leo, because Ben Leo of The Late Show Live he's going to knock this story on a bit, Ben, aren't you? Go on, what have you got for us?
Yes, hello Patrick, viewers and listeners. Nice to be with you. So late last week, I think maybe you reported on it too, Patrick, there was a story doing the rounds that the Trump administration could potentially be offering, the New York Times billed it as white Europeans. It's not just whites, but they're so obsessed with race that they ran with that. But it's basically Europeans who are concerned about migration, maybe being persecuted over free speech issues such as Graham Linehan, Lucy Connolly. Anyway, so that was late last week. Tonight we're hearing in DC that those proposals are very close to going ahead and being rubber stamped. And Graham Linehan, we can say now after the case has been dropped, his case was on the desk of Marco Rubio at the Secretary of State in DC all this time. So they're very, very aware, the Trump administration, of what's going on, not just across Europe, but particularly in the UK as well. They've been keeping a keen eye on that Linehan case. Lucy Connolly, they're very aware of also as well. And moving on from last week, that story doing the rounds about political asylum, that potentially is on its way. I think we could be maybe a couple of months away from hearing that, which is very, very extraordinary. And do you remember in April, Winston Marshall was in the press briefing room with Caroline Levitt and made the question, said, can we have political asylum for Brits? It was laughed at, but now it seems maybe it's coming along.
Absolutely. Ben, thank you very, very much. Ben Leo there for The Late Show Live. We'll be hearing a bit more from him later on when he's going to tell us everything he's got coming up. But thank you so much, mate. Good luck. Right, now, this is on the front page of a lot of national newspapers. It's Prince Andrew, and it's the allegations that are being made in a book by Virginia Giuffre, now deceased. The Metropolitan Police is actively looking into the allegations that he asked his taxpayer-funded bodyguard to dig up dirt on Virginia Giuffre. Meanwhile, GB News has obtained a copy of her posthumous memoir. And our royal correspondent, Cameron Walker, has more.
He knows what happened. I know what happened. And there's only one of us telling the truth.
Allegations from beyond the grave. GB News has obtained a copy of Prince Andrew's sex accuser's new memoir ahead of publication.
Guess Jenna's age, urged the prince after she introduced me. The Duke of York, who was then 41, guessed correctly, 17. My daughters are just a little younger than you, he told me.
The now infamous photo she claimed was snapped that night. Andrew, his hand around the teen's waist.
He was friendly enough, but still entitled, as if he believed having sex with me was his birthright.
Virginia Giuffre, who took her own life in April, recounts her harrowing story about the alleged sexual abuse she endured at the hands of Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. She alleges she had sex with Prince Andrew 3 times when she was underage and claims the prince continues to deny. But the book goes further, making new claims when describing her out-of-court settlement with the disgraced Andrew, a settlement involving no admission of liability.
Prince Andrew's team have even gone so far as to try and hire internet trolls to hassle me.
Separately, police say they are actively looking into claims that Andrew ordered his taxpayer-funded bodyguard to dig the dirt on Virginia, and his links to alleged Chinese spies continue to come under scrutiny. Meanwhile, the King's work continues to be overshadowed by his brother, including a visit to survivors of the recent terror attack on a Manchester synagogue. A Buckingham Palace spokesperson told GB News, "This is the King continuing with duty and service in his long-standing mission to bring communities together, particularly in times of challenge. And he hopes very much that the focus will be on the community impacted by this heinous crime, rather than any other matters." It's understood His Majesty's glad Prince Andrew's agreed to no longer use his Duke of York title, but legally he still has it. A number of MPs and the public want further action. So what could happen next? To legally remove a dukedom, an Act of Parliament is needed. MPs voting through legislation for the King to give royal assent. This takes up valuable parliamentary time. The King also has the power to formally remove Andrew as a prince via a letters patent. But this would be such a major constitutional move, it's thought His Majesty would only do so on government advice. The government, however, says it takes its lead from the royals.
We want to make sure we, I guess, keep a clear distinction between His Majesty's government, you know, what we're doing, and the decisions that rightly need to be made, and it appears are being made by the King and the royal family.
Prince Andrew has not responded to the new allegations against him, although he has always consistently denied the previous claims made by Virginia Giuffre. Now pressure's growing on the royal family and Downing Street as King Charles prepares to undertake a historic state visit to the Holy See. Cameron Walker, GB News.
Well, there we go. Watch this space when it comes to that. Calvin Mackenzie, let's bring up the Daily Mail's front page. So, just how can Andrew afford Royal Lodge?
Well, it's a very good point, because the Times says he hasn't paid any rent, but that isn't the issue. There are 6 cottages there for staff, so he has to pay. So the staff have to be paid. Remember, the government, the state aren't paying anymore, and now Charles is not handing any money, so that's a lot of money. So there will be the upkeep of the place, which will be huge. This is a 30-roomed mansion with 100 acres, so there's at least a couple of gardeners there as well. Then there's the horses.
It's very nice. I've been there.
The cost will be enormous.
Very nice.
What's it like?
That's a perfectly nice normal house. Nice gardens. Yeah. I mean, what goes on? We know what goes on now, don't we? What goes on is going to be this.
So OK, so you know about it. So where does the money come from then? Because this would be costing $500,000, $750,000.
I have no idea where the money comes from.
I think I know.
Look, the Times have got hold of his lease agreement, which says he has to give 1 peppercorn a year. I bet he hasn't done that.
Which he hasn't done.
A single peppercorn needs to be done. But he did spend £8 million doing the place up.
He did.
Looks bloody nice.
Or did he or did we?
Well, I mean, Fugazi, it's nice sofas. Right? I don't knock it.
Right, but I think we should know, right? The reason that the Crown Estate agreed for this deal was that they said this is where the money's coming from.
Okay. But he does have some income. He's got a Navy pension. That's 20 grand. That's 20 grand a year. So that pays for some, some gardening.
Right.
Maybe he mows his own lawns.
Right. Perhaps he does all this, but this is a serious issue.
Fergie's very, very dandy with a
duster. He cannot just produce very secretly who this person is. We need to know who would fund somebody like Andrew.
I mean, it could be the Chinese spies that he's friends with.
Who? I'm not going to say.
Go on, Kelvin.
Mainly because the person no, that's not the reason I come on, but I do agree with you.
Sorry, you can't tease us like that. You absolute cock tease.
Well, I am teasing you. Right?
Let's just try to narrow it down a bit. Is it a man or a woman?
It is a man.
Is it foreign or British?
British. Yeah.
British.
But he paused there, which makes you think.
Well, I am.
This is two journalists. We are eating ourselves up.
I know.
Well, just say the name then. I'll say the word allegedly. You can say the name.
I tell you what, your lawyer, right? Your lawyer, at your expense, can defend me. All right.
Oh, right, okay.
Oh, how boring.
What's beautiful, I'm sorry about this, everyone at home, is in the break we're about to find out.
You're not. They're not going to find out.
And I will say when I know. Yeah. I'll break his trust. I've only just met the man.
Okay, all right. Right, okay, moving on. Yes, this was the breaking news. It broke, actually, I think, whilst I was on air in the last hour. So, you know this big hoo-ha about Maccabi Tel Aviv and their fans and they're not being allowed in Birmingham, definitely not just because they're Jewish. Well, apparently now Maccabi Tel Aviv have told their fans that they are not going to sell them tickets because they can't guarantee their safety in Britain. It's a dark day. Stay tuned.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
It's an unsettled picture across much of the Mediterranean over the next couple of days, with heavy showers around, particularly across northern parts of Spain and Portugal, southern parts of France, northern parts of Italy, perhaps even some snow over the Alps too. Southern parts of Italy, parts of Greece and northern parts of Turkey faring better in terms of some sunny spells, and temperatures quite widely in the high teens or low 20s for many, but with a bit more dry weather around as we head through the second half of the week. Those temperatures on the rise into the low, potentially mid-20s.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates,
5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5.
You got me. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah.
Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight on the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Welcome back. So, the breaking news about an hour ago, anyway, was that the government is deeply saddened, that the Israeli football side, Maccabi Tel Aviv, has now declined any away tickets for their match against Aston Villa. You all know the big hoo-ha that was taking place there. Hoo-ha's putting it a bit mildly, but anyway. In a statement on Twitter, Maccabi Tel Aviv have said, "We acknowledge the efforts of the UK government and police to ensure both sets of fans can attend the match safely and are grateful for the messages of support from across the footballing community and society at large." Went on to say, though, it is clear that various entrenched groups seek to malign the Maccabi Tel Aviv fan base, most of whom have no truck with racism or hooliganism of any kind and are exploiting isolated incidents for their own social ends. Anyway, they are not going to allow their fans to buy tickets to the game. Kelvin, your views on this now?
I think it's absolutely shocking. I hate the Muslim political advocates and activists in the area who have, danced and being joyful at the fact that this Jewish fan base won't be coming to our second city. I think it's an appalling day for us, and I am appalled by your friend Mahmood. She knew a week earlier and did nothing about it and left the decision, quotes, to the local police.
So
she's the Home Secretary, for God's sake.
The message here is that Maccabi Tel Aviv don't think that their fans will be safe in Birmingham.
Yeah.
In fairness, I think Shabana Mahmood would deny being my friend. On a secondary point, I don't really know what I think. I don't really have a view on this, to be honest.
How do you not have a view that a bunch of people can't come to our country, watch a perfectly innocent football game because of their religion? How is it possible to not have a view on that?
They are a hooligan club.
You saw they're not hooligan. When you're being attacked in Amsterdam.
Genuinely, when we talk about Shabana Mahmood and the Home Secretary, I think she genuinely has much bigger issues to deal with.
Her job is to facilitate people in this country going about their legal business. Attending a football match is a very clear, obvious example of that.
She seems to facilitate illegals coming across the channel, or a government does anyway. So she can't facilitate people coming for a football match. I think it's disgraceful, man. So do you. Honestly.
I think you do, but I think you're scared to say so because of your tribe.
I think that Maccabi Tel Aviv are a hooligan club. No, they do not care. If they come...
I don't care either. I hate football. I'd ban it probably, but I think, as a matter of principle, they probably should. If we're going to have football, let them come. I think the world would be a better place if we didn't have football. Full stop. That's a separate conversation.
I don't. I think some of the chants that the Maccabi Tel Aviv fans, death to Arabs, etc., that they chant, I don't think is welcome in this country.
The ground obviously is a personal favourite from some of the more left-wing parts.
Didn't you call for his arrest? Didn't you call for him to get done? So why wouldn't you hold the same standard? Why wouldn't you hold the same standard?
I agree with that. I absolutely agree. We should not have that kind of chanting going on. And by the way, we don't allow it. We don't even allow it with all those planes and all those the anti.
Yeah, but that's a separate thing. They come to Britain and do that. They're breaking the law. Yeah, exactly. That's not. We don't stop people coming on the grounds they might break a law. That's guilty until proven innocent. It's complete perversion.
We do very often. We deny visas on the basis that someone has a criminal record.
No, we don't. They
might.
We
don't.
They baptise them in a migrant hotel and they can stay in Britain forever, like get a tattoo sleeve with a crucifix, even though they're from Iran, and they can come. Anyway, controversy in South Yorkshire. Hoylings Remembrance Day, but you got lucky there. That could have been awful.
That could have been dreadful. Just the way you moved, the way you segued.
You would look like an animal now. Right, OK, controversy in South Yorkshire's Hoyland Remembrance Day poppy display has been cancelled. The Labour-run Barnsley Council's new guidance bans attachments to lampposts with the sign and road signage. Basically, in a nutshell, it means that the flags that would have been there to honour the town's 396 fallen soldiers can now not be put up. So they've banned Remembrance Day.
You know, it's hard to go through this, isn't it? 1 hour of watching your nation being destroyed by the Labour Party. I mean, why do they bother? They know what they're doing, don't they? There is virtually nothing about country.
The only winners of this Labour-run country are the people on this panel making money out of it for an hour's worth of sad reaction.
It comes at quite a serious personal cost.
You know, but seriously...
The anger that I feel like...
Yeah, you know, you'd have to go and see somebody. But Andy, how do you feel about that? I mean,
he thinks it's
you're
brilliant.
a member of this party.
I'm a member of this party.
He wishes we'd lost the war.
Yeah.
I think. Why would I think that we'd?
I don't know, mate.
That's the wrong. You're thinking about the wrong party, my son. It's half and half, isn't it? I think it's probably bad. Yeah, wrong. Remembrance Day, really important, obviously. Every council. I think I'd be interested in the Reform UK run councils because they've made so many cuts to kind of community services in their areas. But they're still putting up council tax. Whether their Remembrance Day services will go ahead as planned.
But what about
this? I'd be very interested.
Okay, well, what about this one though, Andy? How do you feel about this?
Yeah, it's bad. I said
this line will hold. That will go up by November the 11th. That line will hold 48 hours before they change their mind.
Before they change.
Yeah, there's no way they can carry on doing that. It's some poppies on a lamppost. People want it. Yeah, it's perfectly respectful. That line's not going to.
Well, the thing is as well is that if you do it, I'm not encouraging anyone to spread the law, but if you do it, you can't be seen to be taking poppies down, can you? So
it's not a great look. It's like borrowing flowers from a lamppost. Not really the done thing.
No, or a graveyard. Right.
Yeah.
This is your roundup of tomorrow's newspaper front pages, or today if you're watching the replay. The Guardian: Prince Andrew tried to hire trolls to target Virginia Giuffre's book. The Daily Telegraph: grooming inquiry sabotaged by Labour. The Independent: Powell's attack on Starmer. We must turn Labour around. The Metro: something went wrong, and that is about the big data breach and internet outage that happened before. The iPaper: revolutionary bionic chip helps blind patients to regain sight. The Sun: Katie Price's ex has been charged with raping a girl 13. Again, I'm not sure if he's pleaded not guilty to that or whatever. It's an active case, so we'll leave that there. The Daily Express: for the safety and dignity of every woman and girl. This is about the Darlington nurses. They want single-sex spaces. The Times: Prince Andrew has not paid rent since 2003. The Daily Mail: just how can Andrew afford the Royal Lodge? So, there you go. So there we go. That's all we've got time for tonight. Thank you to my wonderful panel. Thank you to you at home or wherever you are. And up next, it's the Late Show Live, hosted by the one and only Ben Leo.
Thank you, Patrick. Yes, tonight on the Late Show Live, could Brits and indeed Europeans be given political asylum in the United States? There were stories doing the round in recent weeks about that very concept. Do you remember Winston Marshall said in April to Caroline Levitt in the press briefing room that it could be an idea? Well, it seems to be happening. Could the likes of Graham Linehan be given refugee status in the US? Back in just a tick.
There's 2 weeks remaining in our latest, greatest giveaway. You could be in the driving seat of this Benamar Primera motorhome. This luxurious home from home comes with all the mod cons. Plus, you can use it with your current driving licence. We'll also boost your bank account with a whopping £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend on anything you like. It only takes one entry to become a winner. Front